You bet. Now, Kremlin critic Alexei Navalny's sentencing in Russia is drawing some strong reactions from the West. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen and EU Foreign Policy Chief Josep Borrell have condemned the ruling. Several European countries, including France, Germany, and Britain, have called for Navalny's immediate release. The U.S. also said it's working closely with its allies to try to hold Moscow accountable. In the meantime, the Russian Foreign Ministry has described the calls as disconnected from reality and tantamount to interfering in Moscow's internal affairs. Navalny was sentenced to 3.5 years in prison over the charge of violating his terms of parole. He was arrested last week after returning from Germany, where he'd been receiving treatment for alleged poisoning in Russia. Joining us now from New York for more on this story is Max Parry, investigative journalist. Hello, Max. Pleasure to have you back on Press TV, get your perspective on things. Your thoughts on Navalny's case?
Well, his sentence doesn't really come as much of a surprise. And, one can argue about the degree of the severity of the sentence for violating his parole, which he knew perfectly well he was doing when he went to Germany. He was actually previously convicted of fraud and was spared a sentence a few years ago. So he knew what he was getting into when he went to Germany over this dubious and highly questionable alleged poisoning that occurred. But it's arguably actually a very lenient punishment and might be the least, considering that this sentence comes on the heels of actually some bombshell revelations that came out yesterday from the Russian FSB that one of his Navalny's top allies, the head of his so-called anti-corruption fund, was revealed in footage from a few years ago to be not only secretly meeting with British intelligence, but soliciting tens of millions of dollars in financial support from the British Foreign Office. And if the footage is authentic, that means that Mr. Navalny has not only been flat out lying about his autonomy and Ashikov was already revealed to have ties to, or to even be a member of Integrity Initiative, which was a British military intelligence operation that was embroiled in a scandal a few years ago, where leaked documents showed it was conducting disinformation warfare, employing journalists, interfering in Russia's affairs, and even targeted Jeremy Corbyn of the UK Labour Party. So this sentence is coming amid revelations that Navalny is actually very much a Western intelligence asset and not any authentic opposition figure to the Russian government.
Right.
So I'm really surprised, and there might be further charges coming down the pipe for Mr. Navalny.
And you know what irks Moscow, Max, there is the fact that you have, Western leaders saying that they're going to get involved in this, that they're going to, either sanction the government, or they're giving credibility to Navalny in his case, and whatever basically narrative he likes to spin for Western leaders. Now imagine when Donald Trump said that he got cheated out of the election, if Vladimir Putin, called over to Joe Biden's camp that it wasn't fair how you guys stole this from, basically you don't see Russia doing that. And we see, its adversaries like the U.S. show how sensitive they are with allegations of interference in their elections and their democratic processes, but yet they're doing it time and again. Your thoughts on why, Moscow's obviously saying, hey, we don't like the Brits, we don't like the, the Americans, we don't like the French, getting this involved in our, internal matters. Is that unfair for them to ask, for others to stay out?
Yeah, no, the hypocrisy is astounding. What Donald Trump was accused of, really without much evidence, that he supposedly tried to solicit Russia for dirt on Hillary Clinton. In this video, we have one of Navalny's top allies not only trying to get money, but trying to solicit dirt on prominent Russian politicians. And there were charges to charge Mr. Trump for treason, and without evidence. And there actually is evidence that Navalny and his leaders were engaging in what Trump was accused of. Yeah, I mean, the hypocrisy is just astounding. And actually, the one thing that really never gets discussed is that Mr. Navalny is not only an inauthentic opposition figure. The Communist Party is really the big opposition. He has less than 5% support, but he's also really rebranded himself in recent years. I mean, when he first rose to public view, he was actually very much connected with the far right and Russian ultra nationalists, calling for an immigration ban from Central Asia, and he compared Muslims in southern Russia to cockroaches. He is very much a xenophobic nationalist. Just rebranded himself as this sort of liberal Kremlin critic, when he's really just sort of whatever is politically convenient or whatever his Western handlers are telling him to be. So yeah, no, the hypocrisy is astounding, and it's also been hypocritical, from these EU countries condemning the Russia's crackdown on the protests, when this past year we've seen the way the EU and the United States have brutally sorting out their own messes first before they stick their nose in other countries' business.
Thanks, bud. Stay safe. Always a pleasure to have you on. Thank you, and bye-bye for now. That was out of New York, Mr. Max Parry, investigative journalist.